Good morning, members of the Fourth Estate. I want to re-echo my apology in addition to his for the inordinate delay. It's not in my nature. Delay you were never invited. I will ensure that we remedy that going forward. We invited you this morning to speak to the country and particularly address four issues that we thought required a major follow-up from the interaction with the country, with the world of 6th December, in which we made an announcement relating to our major undertakings from then on and going forward. One, beginning with the light one, is to appreciate you and the whole nation for the massive turn up. The massive turn up to listen to us, to try and understand us, and also relay our considered issues and how we intend to approach matters of politics, governance, and leadership in this country going forward. Invariably, after that launch, after that activity, everybody had their own way of interpreting our intentions, and we hold no grudge against anyone for their preferred interpretation. We are happy that a debate on how the opposition should work or is working, ought to have worked, is back on table, a departure from a rather normative past. So it's very important that the opposition in Uganda is being debated and discussed by all in both normative and positive ways. That for us is absolutely okay. We also appreciate the feedback from the general public, including the feedback from the traditional detractors and naysayers. We appreciate it. That feedback enables us to work better. That feedback, negative or positive, enables us to think about tomorrow in a better way. And we have no doubt on this side that whatever we do that we thrust in the public domain will attract a response in whatever form. And therefore, we appreciate the feedback. We want to tell the world that whatever we said on that day, we are not a drunken lot. We do not abuse any substances. We meant it, and we mean it. And we are here to tell the world that um, that announcement remains valid, and we are here to clarify a few issues that could have been misconstrued that day, and also following the various interactions with the public media. One of the key issues we want to inform the country today is that as the national coordinator, I have written to all registered political groups, political platforms. I've written to them to communicate to them with clarity how we want to work with them and invite them for an interaction. We are asking them to offer us an independent interaction inter alia as political parties, as pressure groups, so that we can explain to each other our preferred approach. So, by the end of the week, every known platform would have received a letter of our intention to engage. And when they invite us for that engagement, we shall inform you as to the outcomes of that engagement. So we have done that communication, and I have signed it off as the national coordinator. Thirdly, at the turn of the year, we intend to go on the road to the entire country. we shall reach the every length and breadth of this country to speak to the people on two issues that are germane to our public engagement. One, the issue of political and electoral reforms that we believe is a matter that has been wrongly or poorly handled by both the group in power and the political opposition. We want to engage the public. We want the public to be part of this conversation because we have hardly a year before we can begin thinking about the next polls. And we don't want to go to the polls in the same shape we have been into over the last 2, 3 electoral cycles. So we want the general public that so much desires to see something better and different to be involved. So we shall communicate to you our voted program in terms of time, date, and space or place um, at the turn of the year as part of the DA outreach activities. This we shall do, and we shall inform you um, in the coming days. Fourth, to clarify, once again, in the excitement of the launch, there could have been sections of the public that probably never understood with the clarity, with the utmost clarity, what the DA is about. I have had people, including well schooled media practitioners, congratulating me for launching a political party. And I thought it is a forgivable misconstruction. And I'm here to clarify, namely, that we did not launch a political party, but we launched a civic platform, a non-partisan and all-inclusive civic platform to engage it in two major issues which I talked about. Probably they were never picked because when you speak with a raised voice, easily you can be misinterpreted. The DA is never meant to be a permanent issue platform. It is a platform of passage to address two major issues in this country. One, electoral reforms, but two, opposition, the joint opposition platform. Because we believe that the opposition has missed opportunities to work together. There were attempts hitherto. You remember the 2020, the 2016 attempt under the TDA that never yielded any results. Of course, some of us were active, fully remember and recollect the circumstances under which the TDA was undermined and failed to deliver. But we also know that since then, the opposition variously has been licking swoons for the missed opportunity. Because nobody is stepping up to summon, to reach out, roll out a carpet for all and sundry in the opposition, we are stepping forward. And in doing so, we don't need anybody's permission to do that because we are part of the broad national polity that cares, and we believe we should be able to speak to everyone, including characters and groups we diametrically disagree. But for the sake of giving our people and our country an opportunity to transition, we will speak to them, find a way of agreeing on a workable framework, which is why we said that the DA is transitory. Eventually, the DA and the actors, the initial actors in the DA, will want to transform into an electoral platform. That electoral platform will not be the DA. The DA is a civic platform. What the actors will finally make is a matter they will communicate. You know, when they eventually roll out a political platform, they will communicate it. But in the circumstances, we have agreed to begin with a civic platform. This platform will engage everyone. We will be able to speak to everyone. And I believe the conversation out of this DA must end up on the floor of Parliament, where finally Any issues regarding political and electoral reforms will be discussed. And in my space and capacity, I'll rally colleagues in Parliament and we have these issues on the floor. These issues will not be finalized until the Parliament of the Republic has had a conversation and a final say on them. If Parliament fails to offer leadership on reforms, then the people will know what to do. What they will do is not my preserve. Probably it will be an outcome of the nature of a consultative outreach we intend to undertake. I appreciate you. The veteran comrade from New Vision, he raises very legitimate question. One, that invariably the DA remains a civic platform because if dares to be partisan and inward looking, then it would deter others from being part of the conversation within the DA, which is why it's an open door and window platform in which the public structured to mean parties and civic groups should be part of the conversation offered by the DA. That is the purpose. Because that platform is being offered by no one. So we cannot say because everybody's doing nothing, we also become part of the nothing doing. No, yes, we are simply saying that for lack of any initiative from anybody, from anyone, bring the opposition to a conversation, we are offering that big tent. Call the DA the big tent, sir, and that big tent has constituent members, okay? And we're saying those constituent members have a legitimate right and civic duty to eventually evolve into a political platform. That will be their choice when the call is theirs, not mine as the coordinator. But I'm very sure that they are alive to the timetable, the political timetable within which that should be done. And aware of that, it will be foolhardy for them to say it will be forever. There must be a timeline within which any platform elected to do anything will mobilize and offer a platform to sponsor candidates. There's a time frame. So it cannot be beyond the program and the rollout program offered by the Commission. The limits are well canvassed, sir. Then my brother is talking about there's so many platforms. Yes, there can even be 1,000,000 platforms. You give me one example of a political figure in Uganda, then I'll tell you how many platforms they have been part of. Just pick one, then I'll list for you. Can I begin with General Museveni? You want to, from him, where he began from NASA, Kikosi Maroon, Military Commission, BP, UPC, UPM, NRMO. I don't know where he is now. Who else? Who else do you want me to enlist? Chagulanyi. Chagulanyi is a novice. He's just come. Give me a veteran of these actions. Well, he's here, I can speak. But I'll give you my old friend, Dr. Besigye. UPM, NRM, Reform Agenda, FDC, PAFO, TPF, PFF. Are you alive? FOC with me, Fogisi with me, TPF with him and him, IPC, TDA. Are you awake? So that narrative is actually, but I appreciate you journalists because you're questioning from what you pick from the public. The intention is to derail well-intentioned public actors from finding a mechanism that works. So why would you carry on what doesn't work? If it doesn't work, drop it. Rethink. Think anew. That's the intention until you get it right. We are on the playing field and we are trying out possible formations, permutations, and triangulations. When we get it right, we'll be right there. And shall stop at no time in trying to pick something that works. Okay? So, I'll tell you, I mean, you talked about Struve. It really was a pressure group. It rolled out to get people elected. 90% were elected.
That worked. Pressure grows, but for the never meant some a purpose when the sublime
That partly answer you. I don't want to answer you fully, but I partly answer. Thank you. Then my brother from um, Delta TV, you belong to an old party. Do you want to announce for me my departure from the old party? I think I can speak. You all agree? And when I want to speak on something, I speak about it. Today, I came to speak about the DA. The day I elect to talk about NUP, I'll speak about NUP. I don't think I should invest time speaking about that. I know NUP as leaders, they can do what they want, but I'm not an enslaved member of NUP. So that shouldn't be a problem. Uh, Part of your question was what it asked about these platforms. These platforms are good because at the end of the day, you are able to larry enclaved actors. There are people who become slaves of their platforms. And when you erect a fresh platform is a form of rescue to groups and individuals that want to think and act differently. And for me, I respect it. The nature of African politics is such that you must be thinking every day on what works. African political platforms have not fully formed to the level that they can have an orientation that is ideologically permanent. Okay, even if some of us have been in pursuit of permanent ways of managing public affairs, but we haven't been able to summon and rally the kind of activity, the kind of pressure. We have not been able to summon the kind of numbers that we need for us to be able to tip the balance of power. But we know at the end of the day, entirely, this is all power play. Okay? And make no mistake, we fully understand the power play in this country. And I fully appreciate your concern because I know it's not a personal concern. You're a public voice, which I fully appreciate. Mr. Mruana, aka Alien Skin, being is a public pariah. We all know him. I know him. He is a victim. And in the coming weeks and months, you will see more of him. And I can tell you, we are going to try and turn him into a better citizen. I never grew up with him. I didn't know him, but I used to listen to his music. I could see the young people following him. Any serious leader must be interested in that kind of person. But I've also seen the shenanigans around his life and so many other people. But I can tell you, he is much better than so many actors in public life, including men and women in suits. A man of limited abilities, he needs to be supported and helped, not to be condemned. You know, is there a constituency? Is there a place where goons in this country must be settled? So it's the duty of leaders to reach out to people. You see, we live in a generation of lost people, lost young people. And I want to invite everybody to try and support him. I could see a kind of line from out there, including from serious media actors trying to misdirect the message he gave last time on 6th, deliberately to try and impute. He was explaining his situation, how he ended up in prison, and was juxtaposing it to my situation. And he ended up saying, there are so many innocent people in prison. So I was shocked to see serious media editors deliberately misinforming, misconstructing his message. I can tell you, we are going to support that young man and his people. I know they have so many problems, drug abuse they're dealing with. They're scattered young people, no education, no parentage. It's not easy, but it's better than allowing that generation to descend into the abyss without an attempt. So we are making an attempt, and that attempt must be appreciated. And I cannot roll out that back. Okay? Otherwise, if we leave them to the world to judge them and abandon them, we shall have ourselves to blame going forward. Um, I would intend to speak about the issue of joint candidates. Um, yes, I said that the DA, in what we are writing to the political groups and platforms, has two major thrusts. One is electoral and political reforms. Two is what I said, a possibility of electing a joint electoral platform. And I said that's a long-term project that require an up-close conversation to try and understand and appreciate the interest at play. Okay, it's delicate. It will have to involve us roll out a framework, and the framework has not been discussed. So when you roll out a joint electoral platform, you must have a framework to discuss how power can be shared on a joint electoral platform. Those are details. So we haven't discussed them, therefore we cannot speak about them. But it's one of our intentions in the rollout intention to engage. Um, do we intend to engage sections of the ruling party? Why not? A group that has ruled the country in the way they have elected to rule us for 40 years, bad or good, cannot be disregarded. First of all, we want to understand fully and mark this. Our engagement with the ruling party, we want them to clearly inform the country how they view the transition. The departure of General Museveni is not a question of if or whether, it is imminent. And therefore, we cannot allow the ruling party to collapse on the nation. So we want to engage them on how they construe. I know most of the actors in the ruling party are frightened by the sheer mention of the transition. We want them to start getting used to discussing the transition because it's a must. And if you do not have a conversation about the transition, the country will collapse on them. But we want them to collapse in the sea, not on the nation. So we want to offer them a platform to speak about the possibility of this country transitioning, which is inevitable. We would be a bunch of fools at this stage in the life of this nation if we disregarded the conversation about the transition. The members of the ruling party must be part of this conversation. Some of them are terrible humans, we know them. They have visited violations on our people, but they remain part of Uganda. But like we said, once the country transitions, our intention is not to occasion revenge and retribution, but to allow the country to speak to justice.